You ever find yourself in a relationship where you feel, I don't know, more like a rescuer than a partner? Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into that really powerful and often subconscious drive to fix or save the people we love. It's a pattern that might be a lot more familiar than you think. Okay, let's just get right to the heart of it with one single question. And I want you to really sit with this for a second. Be honest with yourself. Do you only feel truly loved when you're needed? If that question struck a chord, yeah, it's because this feeling is part of a very common and, let's be honest, often frustrating pattern. So many of us become rescuers in our relationships without even realizing it. So let's break down what that actually looks like. Just think about your relationship history for a minute. Do you tend to be drawn to partners who seem kind of like a project? Does their happiness start to feel like it's your job to maintain? Maybe your main way of showing love isn't saying it, but doing it, by solving their problems. And at the end of the day, after all that work, are you just left feeling totally wiped out and maybe a little unappreciated? If any of this is ringing a bell, you are definitely not alone. What's so wild is that this isn't just a random collection of feelings. It's a recognized psychological pattern. And just giving it a name, that's the first step toward understanding the power it can have over us. It's called the savior complex. And at its core, it's this deep-seated need to go out and rescue people who are struggling. But here's the kicker, the really crucial part. It's not just about being a nice, helpful person. It's when your own self-worth, how you feel about yourself, gets completely tangled up in how well you can play that role of the rescuer. So, the big question is, where does this intense, almost compulsive need to be needed actually come from? Because let's be real, it's not something we're just born with. It's something that we learn. And for so many people, the answer goes way back, all the way to childhood. Specifically, it can often be traced back to this dynamic, where a child's natural role in the family gets completely flipped upside down. There's a term for this. It's called parentification. And it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a role reversal, where the child basically becomes the parent. They start taking on these heavy adult responsibilities, and not just chores, but the emotional well-being of their parents or even the whole family. When you grow up this way, you learn a very specific set of rules just to get by. You start to internalize these core beliefs, like, my worth isn't inherent, it's based on how useful I am to other people, or it's my job to manage everyone else's emotions. Your own needs, they get pushed to the back burner. They're always secondary. Your main job becomes keeping everyone else stable, no matter the cost to yourself. And right here, this is the crucial connection. That childhood programming, it doesn't just vanish when you turn 18. No way. It directly shapes how we approach our adult relationships. It basically translates those old survival skills into a new blueprint for what we think love is. Let's really map this out, because this is how it happens. The child's reality was, my value is in what I do for others. That thought pattern, it just morphs. It evolves into the adult fixer's mantra. To be loved, I must be needed. That childhood burden of having to anticipate and manage everyone's feelings, that becomes the adult impulse to fix a partner's problems. The survival strategy of the child literally becomes the definition of love for the adult. And this leads to a really profound and honestly often painful reality. For the fixer, being needed becomes the only kind of love they can recognize. If you aren't actively solving a problem or being absolutely essential to someone's stability, that feeling of being loved can just disappear. And ultimately, that kind of dynamic prevents true intimacy, a connection that's based on who you are, not just on what you do for someone. But listen, here's the most important thing to take away from all of this. Understanding this connection isn't about diagnosing yourself as broken or trying to blame your past. Not at all. It's about gaining a new and hopefully more compassionate perspective on yourself. Think of this awareness as a tool. It is the first and most powerful step toward real change. It's about being able to look at your relationships and finally recognize a pattern that, while it may have helped you survive as a kid, is probably just exhausting you now. It opens the door to building relationships based not on a one-sided need, but on a mutual, genuine desire to just be together. And that brings us to the most important question of all. Just think about this. If you could put down that heavy, heavy burden of being the fixer, if you were no longer responsible for saving anyone else, who would you be free to become? And what would a relationship built on want instead of need even feel like?